Oh, wah, 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 wah. What's up, Internet? What's going on? It's Friday, July 3rd, the year 2020. Hindsight is 2020. The year is also 2020. Whoa, check it out. Big jokes right out the gate, right? How's everybody doing? Glad to be back with another live stream. Good to be here. Good to be back in the hot seat. I've been gone for a little bit. Those of you that know, went out of town for a couple of days. Just went and sat by the, went down and sat by the river. Socially distant vacation. Daughter, spouse, grandma and grandpa. Which grandma and grandpa are in the inner circle of our family. So, that's how that worked out. Not a very exciting vacation, I'm sorry to report. Just a lot of hanging out, catching some sun, getting a little tan, and, being windblown. I will say that was the one exciting thing about our trip that may or may not be of interest to anybody, was it was exceedingly windy. We are talking 50, 60 mile an hour gusty McGustertons with sustained 30 mile an hour winds. So I wouldn't say it was like hurricane or nothing like that, but it ain't no joke, to the point where a otherwise placid river that is backed up behind a dam, so it is a lot like a lake, very placid, was looking like the ocean on a stormy, stormy day. Probably 3-foot rollers coming in, maybe 4 feet. But they were full-on white caps, blowing spray, all that stuff. It was acting like the ocean, minus the salt. So that was kind of the big exciting thing. Other than that, was just generally relax, get out of the house, get out of this quarantine, and just take a little break from constantly working, constantly watching the baby, constantly working, constantly watching the baby. So it was much needed. We enjoyed it. We had a good time, but it was just chill. There wasn't really anything that interesting. I did try to find some fish stuff to kind of report to you guys. But otherwise, most the fish in the Columbia these days is just such a disaster. It's been overrun by otherwise unentertaining fish. I will say that. So that is one thing that's going on there. And overrun by invasive species, which ultimately is a pretty boring thing to talk about on a live stream format, So milfoil aplenty. Non-native fish aplenty, kind of a goofy mess going on out there. Well, I wouldn't say it's not necessarily non-native, but we normally would refer to them as sucker fish out there because they're not edible. They are a carp variant, and they just have taken over, mainly because the big-time milfoil is the biggest issue that we have to deal with out there. And I'm trying to remember, what is it, Myrophyllum milfoil. Let me look that up real quick. I'm trying to remember exactly which one it is. It's Eastern. Hold on, let me look this up. I'm gonna end up getting it wrong, and then I don't like being wrong. Myrophyllum. So we actually are messing around with the, what is it, Eastern European variant of Myrophyllum, which is not even supposed to be in North America. You know what I'm saying? So that is what the battle continues raging in the Columbia River Basin, otherwise known as one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. I have to admit, I love it out there. Every time I'm out there, I think, man, we should move away from the city and get out here and get going on some of those lifetime projects that we want to do. And I still think to this point we're a bit off from being able to do that. So anybody who's out there, just out there in the world thinking, hey, I live in the Columbia River basin. Maybe old Corvus over there is gonna move. Well, just not yet, but someday. It's a big stretch of land, so it's not like I'm spoiler alerting anybody or anything like that. But someday we'll be out there figuring out what we're doing. But I do have to admit the growing season out there is making me super jealous right now because it's like 55 degrees out. And it's July. So welcome to Western Washington. Whereas over in Eastern Washington, it's probably 90 degrees. Let me take a look. Let me type this in here. Air Washington weather. It's only 80. It's only 80 degrees where we were at. And turns out it's going to get up to 86. It'll be 84 tomorrow for the 4th. Yeah, 84 for the 4th, 86 on Sunday, 88 on Monday, screaming. We did have one day where it was about, the weather said 99, but our the weather report said 99, but our, doodads and gizmos said that it was 103. So it was actually, it was hot. It was nice to get into some hot weather and just chill for a little bit. Hex Tank Apologist, which will be on our show today here. It's one of the 2 Patreon posts that we have, because today is Friday. So we got to do the Friday Patreon posts. Hex Tank Apologist says, used to live in the Columbia River Gorge area. Ah, the good old days. I will tell you guys someday. I will probably move back over there. Donald's Fish Vibe says, Joel, you went to the Columbia River Valley Gorge area. Isn't COVID-19 down there? Yes. We were very cognizant of wearing masks if we were out. We were social distant from everybody. We were definitely quarantined as far as contact with anybody. We went to the gas station here. We stopped at one place for gas, just all wiping everything down, being all crazy, not stopping anywhere to eat, any of that kind of stuff. But we definitely just went to our campsite. There was only 3 other people there camping, like 3 other little family groups camping. So there really wasn't anybody there. It was definitely a ghost town. So it worked out. We went to a place that we knew that there wasn't that many people booked or anything like that. There wasn't going to be a whole big group of anything going on. So, it's like a pseudo-private campground. So we knew that there wasn't going to be a lot of people there, that kind of stuff. So, yes, we were definitely quarantined. Donald's Fish Vibe says, are you currently under self-quarantine? We're definitely quarantining, but we're kind of coming out of it in our area down here. And I think, honestly, like the biggest factor around that is trying to be able to get work done. I don't know what to do other than just quit some jobs, I guess. I don't know. At this point, it seems that the United States has gone just full-blown COVID-19 outbreak. I don't know what to do other than kind of just weather the storm, I guess, and hope for the best. So I think a lot of people are feeling the way that I'm feeling, that, if you go out to the store, you probably see 30% of the people wearing masks, stuff like that. So I'm doing everything I can to protect myself and my family. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult situation to try and, maintain on the scientific side of things, to go like, this is extremely dangerous. I have a family member right now who's just getting out of the hospital from COVID-19 into a recovery center. So I mean, even if in the world I wanted to be like, well, it must not be real, it's just a hoax or something, it's not. literally know people that are hospitalized now, and luckily surviving. Seem to have some treatments and stuff like that, but when you talk about a treatment that is, harvesting plasma from somebody else that has recovered from it, that had antibodies, that you're going to get a transfusion, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff to undertake. And I can speak from personal experience of being in the ICU like that. You are running the risk of encountering other stuff. I know from an ICU experience that I personally had, it's really easy to catch other bacterias that are going on in the hospital, other viruses that are going on in the hospital. I personally caught some things that you just really wouldn't want to catch, So it's certainly problematic. I don't know what to tell anybody, but my point is just stay as safe as you can. You wouldn't really want to get exposed to it. And I'm just not sure what else to do other than to stay as safe as possible. But we are definitely still quarantined. We're staying home. We're definitely limiting any of our travel or interaction with other people. But I don't know what else to do at this point. It's either like go broke and quit working or something. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I would literally say that I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place of like, well, I need to make money in order to pay for everything that happens all the time. So, man, I don't know. I don't know what, and I would assume, this is clearly me making an assumption, that everyone else is probably in the exact same position where it's just like, I don't know what to do. I got to make money because the bills are happening and that kind of stuff. So, and we're definitely not at the point where it's complete emergency, So I'm not going to use up any emergency stuff. So, I don't know. James Shepard says, no flights from England to America, but flights to Europe are available. It's crazy. As far as I know, the EU has not allowed any flights from the U.S. I think that came out just like 3 or 4 days ago. Very recent. But clearly, with England in Brexit, I would imagine that the United Kingdom would have to make their own thing. If they're not part of the EU and the EU says, the EU says that, but apparently the UK just doing their own thing now. They're going rogue, going wild, doing their own thing out there. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous for me to argue one way or another. So hopefully we can all figure out how to get this thing going. Chevy Fish says, if you aren't sick by the time you arrive at the hospital, you surely will be sick by the time you leave. It's not assured. It's definitely, you won't be assuredly get sick. But I will say that extended stays in the ICU or the hospital will increase your exposure or possibly catching something else. So it's definitely not 100%, but I'm just saying you want to be existing in a less heightened rate, or heightened exposure or any of that kind of stuff. Nelson Montanez says just 30%. Wow, in Philadelphia, I would say it's definitely 75 to 80%. Well, it might be 50-50. It might be 60-40. It might be 40-60. Who knows? It's hard to say because, the people that just aren't masked, they kind of stand out a lot more than the people that are just kind of doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing. And generally speaking, I would say, in my experience, personally, the people that aren't masked are the ones that are just like wandering up in your personal space. You know what I mean? So that is something that I've definitely noticed personally. But yeah, it's just been a really weird kind of situation. Texas Andy Aquatics, get the fishing bow out. We had a huge problem in the big creek by us for over 10 years after the community helped clear invasive species out of the native catfish, catfish, bass, bluegill started to return. I will tell you something from my personal experience of spending a ton of time in the Columbia River Basin, especially growing up. I would spend generally months and months and months out of the year over there. We used to hunt with a bow and arrow, compound bow, with a line on it, the carp. And we would shoot them and shoot them and shoot them and shoot them till you're blue in the face. And I would say it may or may not be mitigating the population, but it never felt like we ever made a dent. I don't know what to tell you, but they seem to be the inhabitants of that waterway now, especially when you take into consideration, like, the fish that are supposed to be there are likely salmon and that kind of stuff. There's no way that they're making it through 11 dams or 8 dams to get that far upstream. You know what I mean? That far upriver to spawn again. And I would say that ultimately is the biggest problem. How does that get fixed? I don't know. It's a monumentally huge thing. So those of you that don't know, the Columbia River is a gigantic river. I think it's like the third longest or third biggest or maybe second biggest. Columbia River size rank. Oh, there we go. Columbia River size rank. Let's see. Columbia River is the 12th longest river and is the 6th largest drain basin in the United States. Okay, so it's the 12th biggest. Sorry, it's completely off base there. In Canada, where the Columbia River flows over 498 miles and drains 39,000 square miles, the river ranks 23rd in length, and part of its basin ranks 13th in size. Yeah. So there we go. It's apparently not the biggest. Let's see. Well, yeah, okay, that's why, because it's starting to take into consideration, like, the Yukon. Okay, here we go. U.S. rivers, longest one. Columbia River is the 4th. Okay, so Mississippi River is the longest. Ohio River is number 2. St. Lawrence River is number 3. And the Columbia River is number 4. The Yukon is number 5. So, yeah. So, the Columbia River is the 4th basic. Like, when you balance out all the metrics of discharge, length, and some outflow and some other stuff, like, once you take everything into accommodation or into consideration, the Columbia River is the 4th. I thought it was the 2nd, but I'm stupid. And, what do you know? That's why we look these things up, to check out what the heck's going on. So the Columbia River is the 4th. So it's quite a big thing. But the big thing that I was kind of getting at is how many dams there are on the Columbia River. And I wanted to kind of look real quick, because I'm just kind of talking about it. So I might as well look and see if we can't locate how many. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, crap. This is not a comprehensive map. That's not helpful, map. How many dams are on here? There's the discharge. The geology is amazing. That's totally cool. My God, look at this. Wikipedia, the Columbia River is just expansive. There's so much good stuff on here. I'm going to read this after the show. 100%. There's no way I'm not. You can't stop me. You can't stop me, and I won't be stopped from reading this later on. In 1902, the United States Bureau of Reclamation was established to aid in the economic development of arid western states, which is eastern Washington. If you guys don't know, the western side of Washington is where Seattle is. It's rainy, all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. Then there's a big giant mountain range in the way called the Cascades. And on the eastern side of the state, does have a big giant river running through it, but it's generally arid. It's high plains desert over there. So you're talking, it's about averages about 1,000 feet elevation. So you are a little bit up elevated, and it's extremely hot and arid. So it's like a desert. But that's perfect for growing stuff. So and I believe in, let me check the date here. The Flood Control Act of 1950. There's that. The Public Utility District was developed in the 60s. The Columbia River was there. I can't find it now, but here it is. The irrigation in 1933. There it is when it started. Franklin D. Roosevelt authorized the Columbia Basin Project. By 1935, the intended height of the dam, the Grand Coulee Dam, which is like the first part of it, was increased from 200 to 300 feet to 500 feet. and a height that would extend the lake impounded by the dam all the way to the Canadian-U.S. border. The project had grown from a local New Deal relief measure, which was really cool. Like this whole thing, learning about the Columbia Basin project. This will show you like how many dams are on there. Anyhow, I'm totally getting off base here, but there are a lot of hydroelectric dams on there, and the point of that is that there are fish ladders. Okay, so the fish can get back up, but it's just the reality that the fish just aren't going to get that far upriver. They're probably going to get through a couple of dams and that kind of stuff, and I'm sure that if you were there during the time that they were migrating around, you'd be like, wow, there's a lot of fish going through, but it is what it is. What's going on with Mary Page Flynn? Watching this and hanging out with you guys is my stress relief. What's going on? I got to get back into the chat here. We can't let this go by. My daughter is getting ready to do a home birth here with a midwife. Oh, God, I am no help in that. But I will tell you what I think is a funny story, and I may or may not make a video about it sometime on a different channel, not on this channel. But I think I'm going to... I have this streak of blonde hair that's growing in my hair now, and I'm gonna I have a name for it that has to do with with that whole situation that you're navigating right now, and I think it will be kind of a funny video, but maybe not. We have a new member today. That means we got to check in with our membership count real quick and see what's going on, because I think we're in dire straits, you guys. I don't know. Things were good, and then they were not so great. We were at 100 just a little while ago, and now we've dropped down to, let's see, the YouTube membership. Let's update the number. Let's go 5, 4, 3. Whoops. Hey, man. I'm hitting the button. 3, 2. Okay, we're down to 92 members, which... Thank you very much, you guys. I want to give a big shout out to everybody who is a member. Let's see. Mary Page Flynn is one of our newest. Smeel Kapoor re-upped and got things going. The zombie drummer just re-upped or became a new member. I'm not 100% sure. Sounds like you had something going on with your account. So, legit. Thank you to you guys. 100%. Thank you very mucho. And let's update our Patreon count real quick while we're here. Let's reload that page. It has gone from 242 down to 235. So, hey, that's where we're at. There's a freaking pandemic going on. I would love to be doing gigantic projects and stuff like that, but thanks to you guys, I'm able to keep the lights on, keep the production going with just kind of smaller projects and things, which I'm happy to say are coming along pretty well. I just wish I had more dedicated time to work on them. Right now, that's the hard part, is dedicating time. Yeah. So thank you to the patronizers, and thank you to the YouTube members, and we'll move right along because I want to get to the important part of the Patreon day. What do we got going on here? But Mary Page, hopefully you're doing okay. Hopefully the baby goes okay. I am no help when it comes to giving birth. I'm not an OB/GYN or anything. I'm just the guy who would be like, oh, breathe good. Yep, yeah, you should be doing that breathing. Terry's Tropical Tank says, sorry, I'm on lockdown on spending right now. Yeah, hey man, I get it. You know, that's the whole thing. I try to convey that to you guys as much as possible. I understand. It is a pandemic, and it's never a guilt trip or anything like that. Like, if you guys want to help the projects and the production, the videos and things, and you can, I 100% appreciate it. I really do. I like to express that to you guys. It's definitely it's no hard sell, man. There's a pandemic. The whole entire world is hurting right now, and if people need to save the $5 or $2 or $1 or $10 or anything like that, hey, you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta take care of your family. You gotta do that stuff before we get the entertainment and that kind of thing. Anyhow, so fully understand. Excuse me. Big D Smoke says, went to Spokane for my son's AAU state basketball championships and saw nothing but dust, windmills, and tumbleweeds for an hour. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're on the I-90, if you're on the I-90 corridor just driving out to Spokane, there's not a whole lot on the freeway. I'll tell you that much. You do definitely see some of the farms and stuff like that, but I-90 is definitely not a sightseeing tour, except through the mountains. The mountain part definitely is pretty fun, especially with all the new road parts that are fully constructed there now. It's pretty cool to go ahead and check that out. Okay, moving right along. We got the Patreon posts of the day. Let's get to those before I forget, because we got some meme game going on over here, which I do have to admit, from the Orange County Choppers. This is probably, I would say, this is probably the funniest meme that exists in the whole entire world. If I'm being real, let me make this a little bigger. Am I on the right? There we go. Oh, man, what am I doing here? Do I have to change? All right, we have to change the window. Hold on. I had this, I felt like I had this set up, but let's add source, screen capture, smart selection, and we'll throw it on here. Should I read a meme out to you guys, one step at a time? That would be funny. If you guys are like me, you probably were at least reasonably big fans of the Orange County Chopper. The weird drama and everything that was going on there was just so wild. Those guys building weird motorcycles at a time where we weren't getting exposed to that kind of stuff. And there's Paul Jr. and Paul Sr. So Paul Sr.'s the dad guy with his big mustache, and Paul Jr. is his son. And they just regularly clashed I don't know. And the family dynamic was so weird. There was all this weird, mysterious, dramatic family stuff going on that just made no sense personally, which was intriguing. And I have to say, this is one of the longest standing memes of all time, where people change the type on this, and it almost always gets a chuckle out of me whenever I see it. And this one is particular to folks like you and me, which is, I'm buying more aquatic plants online. You have more than enough plants already. I want rare plants. Just take care of the plants you have. Stop judging me is pretty much exactly how this goes down in my head. Minus this isn't necessarily the characters that I have going on in my head, but this is legit, 100% pretty much how it goes down with me, where I'm like, am I willing to spend the $32 on a rare plant? And I realize after screaming at myself in the head, if I get an opportunity to get a rare plant, that may or may not come up again later, and then I end up buying a rare plant, which luckily, thanks to you guys, I'm able to bring those in here. Grow them, propagate them, and then pass them on to other hobbyists at some point in time. So it is part of the production budget. It's not a huge amount of money or anything like that, but I do spend about somewhere in the $60 range a month, depending on whatever is left, to bring in some new plants, get them propagated, and then pass some on to the local yokels like Steve. I didn't see Steve in the chat, but I definitely hooked him up the other day before I left. We did a socially distant plant drop-off where I put everything, and I went up and I put it on the porch, and then I just went and hung out in his lawn, and we talked from way far away. But he only lives about 5 miles from me, and I was headed to the store, so it kind of worked out serendipitously. I had to go to the Home Depot, and his house is not far from the Home Depot, so worked out pretty well. And I think, is that our only post this week? Oh, no, here's the other one. Even after 2 weeks, we don't even have that many posts. So I want to scroll down here and find the original post. Sean Stenson actually had sent this in. And this is an example of one of the reasons why I think that the Discord is personally a good benefit for joining up and becoming a sponsor of the channel and stuff, is that Sean sent this in, and then Michael, who's a contributor and a part of our little family here, and he's asking questions and stuff. That's one of the reasons I try to. I'm like, hey, at the very least, if you join up on the Patreon, you can post stuff up on there that you're having issues and whatnot. And then we have other people that can help out. Now, Michael actually posted this here so you guys can see how big an ICB container is. I have some serious drama going on with some of my own, which is just stupid because we had some of our ICB containers swapped out. We helped out a family member, and then they had some other ones dropped off however many months later. I think it was 3 or 4 months later. And then one of them that they dropped off, we just assumed was cleaned out. Turns out not exactly cleaned out. So we're trying to identify what the hell's going on in there. But this is a perfect example of some help that can be passed on from the experience of people that are messing with this stuff. And Michael is one of those guys that has a bunch of ICB containers. He has them cut up. He has a bunch of stuff going on. And here's the answer that was given to Sean from Michael, which I think was super helpful. I think if you cut the liner off at 35 inches, where it is measured at 225 gallons, you could cram it through a 29-inch door. I would try it at 40 and see if you can do it. The plastic bends pretty easily. You could wrap it in an old blanket to keep it from scratching up your door and the frame, and we'll give you a chance to manhandle it. On my aquaponics totes, I just cut the cage to fit and then flipped it upside down, drilled some pilot holes, and screwed into the bottom of the cage so you could cut the frame to 28 inches, remove the bottom, and then reassemble it in the basement. With a 1,000-liter, 275-gallon IBC, or was I saying ICB? IBC. It seems like you'd be able to get more or less 225-gallon reservoir on the cheap if they are available in your area. That's one of those things. These IBC totes are extraordinarily useful for holding water. Maybe you want to do some outside ponds or something like that. They are not very aesthetically pleasing. I understand that, but you're talking about something that holds about 300 gallons when they're full. And there's no other cheaper thing out there. And the reason for that is these IBC containers they're either used for shipping chemical around or shipping like corn syrup. Most commonly corn syrup, sweeteners, food products, stuff that's liquid. That's what these are used for. As you can see, like the bottom right here. Let me see if this comes up. Well, it's hardly useful that it's framed up in the screen like that, but we'll just kind of go with it for now. Let me see if I can't. Does this one work better? No, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fix this. Add source, screen capture, smart selection. Let's go like... Cha-cha. Yeah, okay. Look, that's looking mighty. That's looking mighty better. In case anybody is watching their screen, they can actually see it now with their eyeballs. All right, let's go back over here. Okay, so as you can see, the bottom of these containers are actually for forklifts. So it's like this plastic pallet thing. They're all kind of different. Some of them are attached with, as you can see here, there's like a little bolt. Some of them are screwed on. Some of them are set on and attached in different ways. They're all slightly different containers, but they all are holding and generally the same size. So as you can see here, they're not that huge, but they hold 300 gallons. They're kind of a cube, but not exactly a cube. But they are made to fit onto a forklift, and then they're able to use a forklift to put these up on trucks. You can stack them. I believe you can stack 3 high. I was always freaked out to stack these 3 high when they were full. I only ever stacked them 2 high, but they do stack on top of each other. But that's what these are generally used for. So what's interesting is that these companies don't ship them back. There really is no sending them back, because generally how this works, and with the company I worked for, we would get ours sent out with bulk chemical. Then we would attach a hose to them that we could measure how much chemical we were using to mix and create the things that we were making with said chemicals. I'm not going to get into specifics of what company I worked for, but that's what we would utilize them for. And then there was nobody to take them back. So what we would do is make the chemical inside it inert, and then we would set them out on the side of the road to see if anybody would take them, because it would cost us money to get rid of them. That's one of the things that's very interesting about these containers, is that it would cost us $40 to get rid of each one. We'd basically drive them down the street. Obviously, we'd have to pay whoever and the gas and blah, 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 and all that kind of crap. But minus that, we would have to pay $40 per each one of these to get them, and I say with air quotes, recycled. I do not believe that they were recycled. I think we're literally just paying a company to take them and do whatever the hell they were going to do with them. But we were paying $40 per to get rid of them. So we would actually just make the chemical inside inert, spray them out with water, and set them out on the side of the road, because if somebody came and stuck it in their truck and took it home with them, it was their own liability at that point. And it would technically save us $40 every time we didn't have to dispose of them. But we had to get them disposed of and get rid of them, and it would cost money. So those companies don't ship them back. That's the thing that I was kind of getting at, is that if you're in a location that you can find some of these, there will be more. Generally speaking, most companies that are using these are going to be getting some in this week, next week, the week after that, 2 weeks later, a month later, that kind of stuff. They're going to continually get these containers. And if you are lucky, I would always email somebody that was posting these up for sale. Just ask, hey, man, I know it costs you money to get rid of these. Let's knock a few bucks off your price. Because oftentimes people are like, we'll sell them to you for $75 or $150 or something like that. Lots of times you can just be like, hey, I'll come pick up some for free. Or $75 is too much. I'll pay you $25 a piece and come get 4 of them or something. So it is a negotiation type thing, is what I would like to point out to people. It is the cheapest way that I have been able to find to store upwards of 300 gallons of water. Whether you're going to put fish in it or not is up to you, but I've never found anything as economical as these containers for storing water. Currently, right now, I collect rainwater in one of them. I collect fish tank water. Well, I was collecting fish tank water into one of them. My hose is ruined, but I just got a new hose in, and I'll make a video about how I'm doing that. And then the other one, we got to figure out what the hell is in it. I don't know what's in it. Like I said, typically these have like food or corn syrup or something like that in them that is pretty basic. But after kind of sticking my head in there and trying to figure out what's in that one, I am not sure. I can't specify what it is that's in there, but it definitely has a chemical-ish type situation going on with my senses, with my eyes, with my smell. I guess hearing doesn't count, but my eyes and my smell, I'm like, that's got a weird kind of chemical-y thing going on. So I'm going to figure out what's up with that one and what to do there. But I wanted to point out to people that, like, oftentimes you are able to get these things for free. And if you can get them for free, there's really nothing better than getting them for free. But I want to give a big shout out to Hex Tank Apologist. Thank you for your meme game, my brah. I appreciate it very much. And thank you for Michael Sarr for being an awesome member and just kind of going back and forth and hopefully helping solve some fish tankery, let's say fish tankery type problems. Very much appreciate it. And I hope to hear from Sean sometime soon if, wait, I want to make sure. Yeah, Sean. Sometime soon if that worked out and he's got his situation down there, because that was one of the things I was trying to advise against at the time when we were doing that live stream, was building some kind of water reclamation thing when it's like, yeah, but you could get an IBC tote for free. So buying a whole bunch of products is probably not the best idea. A Pipex with a $1 super chat. What's up, my guy? Thank you, Pipex. I appreciate it very much. as you guys know. Almost all of the support comes from you guys. It really, the edited videos is basically supportless at this point. YouTube doesn't promote them, and when they do get promoted and do well, it's still the advertising is just an annoyance more than anything. So I hope that someday we hit that mark where I can just turn off the advertising on YouTube, but I don't know. I'd rather just be no ads whatsoever, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as time goes on. But thanks, PipeX. The $1 helps it out with getting closer to reaching our goals, you know. Chevy Fish says, wish I recalled the YouTuber who showed it. Who showed what? I have no personal experience with the RO Buddy, but another YouTube who used it showed us and said it works, but is very slow. Let's see. Does anyone know about the Aquatic Life RO Buddy? I've heard good things about it. I have crazy hard water down here in Texas. I wanted to get my pistos to breed and get caridina shrimp finally. Let me see. I'm trying to remember which one is the... Which one is that? Let's go look. Let's go copy. Let's go spin over the old Amazon here real quick and pop this in there and see if I have a spark of remembrance. Oh yeah, the Aquatic Life RO Buddy. Yes, I've used this one in the past. The one that I recommend is on my there's a couple of recommendations that I have on my page, and the Aquatic Life twist-in replacement cartridges is generally... see, I don't like the Buddy. I like the Aquatic Life RO. Hold on. Let me see. Aquatic Life. The RO Buddy is just too small. Where's the standard one? Hold on a second. Let's see. So here's the twist-in filters. You would think that the thing would be there as the other product. Ah, here it is. So this is the one that I recommend right here. The Aquatic Life one, the RO Buddy one is kind of just too small, in my opinion, to be usable. It's just too small, and I don't think it does enough water for your average aquarium person, you know, fish keeper, anybody out there to make it really useful. This one does 100 gallons per day. Now, what people don't necessarily realize, well, here's a link, and I have to give you guys the Federal Trade Commission requires me to tell you, I just posted an Amazon link in there, and it does earn money from the channel if you go through our Amazon links and buy stuff through Amazon. It is a very innocuous amount of money, though, I will tell you. So, yeah, but FTC regulations makes me tell you guys when I post that stuff, and I posted it in there, and it's in this video, so there you go. If anybody accidentally clicks on that link and doesn't, I don't know. You know, I don't know. It's the rules now. But anyhow, Aquatic Life, the twist-in one, works really well. It does 100 gallons an hour, or not 100 gallons an hour, sorry, 100 gallons per day, which to people is confusing, right? But I will give you some clarity. 100 gallons per day is generally measured in an 8-hour period because it's trying to consider what a day of somebody working would be as opposed to a 24-hour period, okay? I learned this the extraordinarily difficult way when I was filtering water, calculating it out, and going, okay, in 24 hours, I'll have 50 gallons, right? So I had a 100-gallon container that was catching the RO water, and I set a timer. I was like, okay, so tomorrow at 7 o'clock, I think it was 7 p.m. or something like that when I started. So tomorrow at 7 p.m., I should have the 50 gallons, right? Nope, it turns out we had 150 gallons, and 50 gallons of it was on the ground. It turns out once I measured it and timed it out, and then I researched it, I realized that they're saying 100 gallons per day is an 8-hour period. So in that range. I mean, I don't think it's going to be perfect 100%. I think it depends on your water pressure, depends on how much it's filtering out, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of little measurement things to take into consideration, but it's generally going to be an 8-hour period. So if you're thinking about 100 gallons per day, that's probably going to do 100 gallons in an 8-hour period. That's what I would recommend as the capacity for the average fish keeper. Let's say you have 5 or 6 fish tanks and you got to do water changes. 100 gallons is generally, for most people out there, going to be plenty to get through your whole day. So maybe you set it up, collect 100 gallons, then you go from there. Or maybe you do 50 gallons one day and 50 gallons another day or something like that. Otherwise, if you get too small of a filter, it's going to be stressful and it's not going to be a good time. So this is the one that I recommend, the 100 gallon per day, and it's probably going to last long enough. I forget what the recommended time for changing these, but what you will want to get if you do get an RODI unit, this is the only time I really recommend this, is a TDS meter. Is going to be here's one. I like the one with the light up screen. It's quite helpful to be able to see with your eyeballs in the fish room. And I actually have one of these. I forget where I got it, but probably Amazon when I was freaking out one day because my reef was probably doing something. But this is the only time I really recommend for people to get a TDS meter is when you do have an RODI unit and you are filtering water to make sure that the RODI water is filtering everything out. You have 100% clean water, and then whatever you have to do to that water to remineralize it or anything like that, you'll be able to go from there. It's the only time I really recommend people to get a TDS meter. I feel used and abused by the online fish tank community where people are like, just get a TDS meter and you'll be able to figure it out. But I would say from my experience, having an RODI filter that's too small is generally just kind of frustrating. It's difficult to work on. It's difficult to change the filters. They have less durability to them and that kind of stuff. Obviously, $150 sucks, but if you're doing something like breeding apistos and breeding caridina shrimp and stuff like that in Texas, I think you're probably going to have a good, you're going to have a decent avenue of making that money back, I think. I think most people that are wanting that kind of fish and have things set up for that down in Texas are willing to probably pay, and you can probably make that money back pretty readily. The Fish Tank Barn sent in a $5 super chat, and I forgot to say thank you. Says, welcome back, man. Hope you enjoyed your vacation. Yeah, it was just some relaxed time, you know what I mean? Just relaxing, you know what I mean? Chevy Fish said, I wish I were called, wouldn't the IBC totes have residue that could harm our fish? Generally not. Like I was saying, sometimes they have chemical in them, which I wouldn't recommend people to buy the ones that were chemical unless you're somebody who is trained on how to make corrosive chemicals and stuff like that inert. If that is something that you can do, then yeah, go that route. If you are that person, you probably already know what those containers are, so it's not great advice. Personally, I don't think that's a high value advice. I think most people would realistically that are already in that field probably know of those containers and know about working with them. But to those of you that don't know about those containers, you would probably want to find the food grade ones that will oftentimes just have corn syrup or some kind of sugar or something that makes pop or whatever. Most of it's just liquid food stuff that is very easy for the average human to clean out. It's not that big of a deal. I wouldn't even use soap, generally speaking. I would generally just spray it out with hot water. That's going to get almost anything that's been in there out. If there is an IBC container that has some kind of food product that's got you stressed out, got you concerned, I don't know off the top of my head what that product would be, but I generally would say it's not that big of an issue. I would say it's generally not that big of an issue personally. And it really shouldn't harm your fish if you just clean it out. It'd be sort of like having a container that had pop in it, or the what's that Kool-Aid or something like that in it, and you washed it out and rinsed it out, and you could put a fish in it. Wouldn't be that big of a deal. I read that it says 50 gallons per day means it runs 50 gallons through it, but only gives you, say, 15 gallons of actual RO water, and the rest is waste, not actually 50 gallons of purified water. That may or may not be the case with really dirty water. That may or may not be the case, but it's supposed to with the proper water pressure behind it and all that stuff. You're supposed to actually actively filter out that much to just push it through. You're supposed to end up in that 50 gallons per day is what you're supposed to get, but you may end up with a lot of wastewater. So if you are getting into an RODI filter situation, remember that you are going to have a lot of wastewater. So if you're somebody that pays a really high water bill or something like that, you might want to figure out a different resolution to go. Daniel Velez says, welcome back. Hope you're feeling better. I was feeling better. I'm slightly concerned about what's going on right now. I'm talking with my doctor about all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. Nothing too stressful. Just could be mild allergy type stuff. So we'll see what happens over the next couple weeks. But thank you. Appreciate it. A furry pal Grover. What's up? Just found one advertised on Craigslist that previously held beer. Yeah. See, there's a good example. Pretty easy to clean out from something, a container that had beer in it. You know what I mean? So, wash it out, clean it out. It's going to be pretty good to go. Let it air dry. It's going to be likely not a big deal for anything for the fish that's in there. So I wouldn't be that concerned. See if I can scroll back up here through the chat. I only have 50 people showing up today, so we've got a small crowd here. Small crowd today, but I like it small crowd and intimate. I've basically been unlisting all of the live streams. Just in reality, I think the live streams are for people that support the show, and I don't want them getting just promoted out to a whole bunch of people that just get pissed off because they're like, the stupid video was an hour and a half long and I wanted you to talk about the automated fish food feeder that you don't have anything to do with. We're starting to get to the point where I think people are a little bit irate, generally speaking, these days, and I don't. How do I want to put it? Generally speaking, people on the internet are just getting more and more irate and cranky and that kind of stuff. And I don't want. I don't want to put people in the position where they have to be cranky. Does that make sense? Like, hopefully that makes some kind of sense. Like, they could just go be cranky somewhere else. And they can show up and watch a 6-minute video that I edited down into 6 minutes, and hopefully it gives them an answer for the thing that they initially wanted anyhow. And then it just works out better for everybody. And then they don't have to be cranky, and then I don't have to be cranky, and we all get to do that. And I think that the live streams personally are a chance to engage with you guys. So that's why I do scroll through the chat and find posts and stuff like that we're going to talk about. Fish Tank Bart says, Michigan took it seriously from Jump Street. We're doing better than a lot, but there has been a spike recently. Yeah, I mean, Washington took the COVID-19 very seriously, for sure, generally speaking. But there's just, the cases are rising. It is spreading. There are groups of people within the Washington state that either think it's a hoax or it's infringing on their rights or whatever. I don't know how a virus infringes on somebody's rights, other other than if you get the virus, get sick, and die. I guess that you lose your right to life. I mean, I guess you would still have liberty. I guess you would lose the pursuit of happiness, right? But yeah, they've generally taken it very seriously here. I think realistically, people are they've just run out of energy. I think they've just run out of the energy to keep trying. It's very difficult to live in a world where we're all generally told to be hyper competitive with everybody else. The corporations, generally speaking, got completely bailed out. We ended up with one $1,200 check, which whether or not you want to debate against, Steve Mnuchin saying that people should be able to live 10 weeks off of a $1,200 check. He did, and I don't know who has a family or a house or any of that kind of stuff is able to live 10 weeks off of a $1,200 check. So it is a little bit of a weird situation that we're all in right now, as far as the Americans. It seems to me, if you are in New Zealand, if you're in Australia, if you're in I don't know, Japan, I don't know, a bunch of countries out there, it seems like they've got it pretty well at least sorted out that people would be working on it and doing whatnot. I don't know. Hextank Apologist, any tips for Blixa japonica? Seems to be a slow grower for me. I would say that I never experienced it to grow fast for me. Like as an individual plant, I do not ever recall it going, wow, it's growing like crazy. But I will say once it reaches kind of the mother plant and starts sending out runners, you can definitely experience a lot of baby plants from it once it reaches that point. That's really what I've experienced over the years with the Blixa japonica, is that it realistically is a slow individual plant, and you could separate it. I wouldn't encourage that necessarily, but once it starts sending out runners, that's kind of when it takes off. It's a pretty basic plant. You want to put kind of medium heavy light on it. It does need a lot of CO2, that is for sure. I never found any specific fertilization technique that was working in some kind of special way. Personally, I don't recommend most people to get super deep into the strange fertilization stuff these days. I would have probably 8-10 years ago. I would have been like, hey man, here's all these, like, here's where you can get all these crazy fertilizer stuff and you can figure out your own mix. There's just too many companies handling with the general fertilization. Seems like International Tropica is doing a great job in the U.S. and Canada. Easy Green I'd kind of recommend, or Thrive. Those two seem to work really well. But Blixa japonica is going to need CO2 realistically, I think, in my opinion, especially if you have some of the stranger variants, if you happen to have the pink one or the red one or the purple one or whatever. But of late, I haven't been messing with it that much, mainly because the Aeriocal in Vietnam sort of took that place in my aquascapes. And I've just been growing that plant like crazy, so I just didn't have a need for the Blixa to really exist, because it wasn't offsetting or bringing anything to my aquascapes that the Aeriocal wasn't already doing. So it was kind of like, I'm just not going to worry about this plant that much. And that was a few years ago. So hard to 100% say. Ginger Grave says $1,200 doesn't pay my rent. Plus, I make too much to get a check. Ooh, you know. I did notice some updates from Ginger Grave on the old Patreon over there. I want to say, always want to say thanks to Ginger for your support over the years. Definitely appreciate it, 100%. I was gonna send you an email, make sure everything was all right, because there were some people that had their identities stolen this last month in June. Some people were having some issues with their stuff getting stolen, not from Patreon or anything like that. It just seemed like that was going around. Maybe people using weird gas pumps or something. That happened to me once, using a weird gas pump, and then suddenly my credit card was on the loose. A criminal had it. Started ordering shoes, which reminds me, I got to drop off those shoes to Dennis here sometime soon. Let me scroll up the chat here a little bit. People are being quiet, and I have no idea how many people are here now. My counter turns off after an hour. I don't know why. I have like a live counter that tells me how many people are here. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, we're just hanging at 50. Just hanging out with 50 people, having a little fish meeting, I guess. I don't know. Let me. Big D Smoke says, I feel like for everyone who's up against it like that, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah, I think that's the reality. We're in for, like, in the United States, we're apparently in for a crazy long ride here with just how weird everything is going to be. Ginger says it's tough right now. COVID finally caught up with my bank account. I've been working, but less hours. I feel you. I feel you on that one. I feel you on that one big time. And I never really like, just as a person that's being open about what's going on, as far as the channel and everything went here, I did some of the calculations a while ago, and it's somewhere between 42 and 46% was the drop off from the coronavirus, which is it's probably closer to 50% now. I don't even want to. I honestly I don't want to look up or plug in the percentages and figure that stuff out, because it is just it's a multifaceted level of making me sad. You know what I mean? Because it's not just about what I'm trying to do when those types of things are accumulated in my mind. I'm not sure about other people, but this is how I see it, is that, like, not only am I like, oh, crap, man, somebody dropped out from being a sponsor, but then I'm like, but why did they drop out? Because the first part is like, well, maybe I disappointed them somehow. Like, maybe I don't know, maybe I said something that pissed them off. Who knows? Or maybe I didn't do a good enough job. But then on top of that, I also get the like, oh no, did they lose their job? Is their family okay? Is everything going on okay with them? And then I start to really think about the global picture of like, oh no, there's a lot of people that are going through this same thing, because it's not just us and the YouTube project and the fish tanks and da-da-da-da. And that is kind of just an overwhelming way to feel, and that's generally how I feel from it. And that's probably why I bring it up sometimes. But, it's not necessarily about my own projects, but it's this accumulated sadness of like, oh, God, there's a lot going on right now, guys. We're supposed to be living in the future and have flying cars, and, but we don't. We all out here tripping. Wondering if people are going to just cover up their mouth and not spread around their virus at the grocery store, when we're just like trying to get some food. We literally have our milk delivered now because we don't want to have to go to the store extra. Luckily, it was the same price as normal, so that's cool. I'm into that. Daniel Velez says, on your 120-gallon tanks, are they lit with the Fluval only? Do you have one or two? Do you set them for max, set them on a timer, or do you use the sunrise, sunset? I'm going to answer this the backwards way. I use the Bluetooth feature on the Fluval 3.0. Sunrise, sunset for 1 hour, nothing too crazy. And my settings are mostly on max. Let me, I have them set, and I've never done a video about it, and namely because Bentley did such a good video about doing the settings that I just kind of tell people to go to that video. I was going to do one, and then I realized, like, screw all that and just send people to Bentleys. Oh, I can't connect. I'm too far away to connect to the tanks. But they're just a couple of the I think 2 out of the 5 lights are just dialed down just a little bit. Nothing crazy. It's basically max, and I have them set for a total of 7 hours. So nothing crazy. They come on at 10 o'clock. They're off by like 5:30, and so nothing too crazy. I do have 2 on the 120 gallons, so it's sort of the equivalent. Those tanks are like 125. They're 120 gallon tanks, but they're 120 on the interior as opposed to measured from the outside. So they're actually they're like 49 and a quarter wide, and then like I think they're 29, not 29, 25 instead of 24. They're literally like 100. I think they're like 123 gallons or something like that. I wanted them to be a true 120 gallon tank. So what we did was we subtracted the acrylic and then built the tank to that size. And so there is a little bit of plus. There's a little bit of plus to them. But it's basically like having one of those lights on a 60-gallon tank, more or less. The 150 has 2 lights on it, just the same. So it's like having one of those over a 75. Those lights work really well. And I don't sell those lights. I mean, if you want to buy them via an Amazon link, I guess that I have those posted in there or something. I used to promote them because I was an affiliate with Aquarium Co-op, which I'm not anymore. That program is gone. So it's likely if you went to Aquarium Co-op, they're probably the best price, I would guess. But let's look it up. Let's take a look. Take a look. It's in a book. Let's see. I think I had an Aquarium Co-op tab open. Let's see. Yeah, because I am working on a project with Aquarium Co-op at some point soon. Fluval. I don't want the nano. I just want... Where's the full-size one? I'm looking for the full-size light. Maybe people bought them all. I don't know. Fluval 3.0. There it is. There's the full-size one. Let's go 48-inch. Exactly the same price. So Amazon has the exact same price as the Aquarium Co-op. So I would say go to Aquarium Co-op. But if you want to be somebody grabbing the affiliate link and go that route, I will provide it because that's part of my job as an Amazon affiliate. Because if I tell you about it and you buy it, I'm supposed to get the advertising fee. So there you go. There's a link for it. Definitely recommend those lights. They work fantastically. There are some improvements that I would hope that they make to the Fluval 4.0. When will that be? I have no freaking idea. I was hoping that they would have had some kind of demo or something at Interzoo, but Interzoo was canceled because of the coronavirus. So we had to not go to that and not see what they're working on for the 4.0. I don't know. There are some improvements I would like to see, but who knows? Switchback Razor is asking best way to get Styrogyne repens to carpet. A good amount of light on it is definitely going to have to happen. You are going to need some soft water. You're going to need some CO2. And you're going to need to trim it and replant it. To get it to carpet is sort of a weird conundrum of bizarreness with the Styrogyne. I have argued with that plant a million times in my life, and I would say if there's one way to get it to carpet, it's to trim the tops, replant them. Trim the tops, replant them, but leave the rooted portions in the substrate, and it will generally send out side shoots that then want to grow along the bottom and do more carpeting. Then once those have extended out to about a 3-inch portion, you're going to trim those off and plant that in there. Take out that old bit of stem and roots and just keep doing that over and over again, and eventually it'll definitely be filling out. Hex Tank Apologist says, Amazon just dropped off my stratum. I did notice that somebody had bought a bunch of stratum through the affiliate links. If that was you, I don't know who anybody buys anything. It just tells me the quantity that something was ordered. That's all I know, really. But if that was you, thank you. Appreciate it. Somebody ordered 6 bags this last month, which is like, oh, cool. Jerry Cook says, would I benefit from transitioning plants in my CO2 tank before moving them to their forever home in a low-tech tank? That really depends on, the plant variant itself, right? Like some extremely difficult plants, crapshoot, bro. Definitely a crapshoot. But would you benefit from it? If these are emergent grown plants, and you're transitioning them to grow underwater in a submerged setting, yes, I would generally say you're going to have better luck to take those emergent grown plants and put them into a tank that has CO2. Once that is kind of fully established, moving some of those trimmings and stuff like that to a lower tech tank, you could encounter some bumpy road, but I think that likely would be the best strategy to go. And I think that would probably be the highest chance for success. So I would say go that route personally. Yeah. Ginger says, I'm lucky to still be working. Pharmacy hours are just shorter and prices seem to be in flux. Yes, prices are in flux 100%. And hours being shorter, I don't know if the hours being shorter is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm completely undecided about it. I don't know. I feel like things should be 24 hours a day sometimes, and then sometimes I'm like, no, that's goofy. So I don't know that I have an opinion settled in my head yet as far as the answers or as far as the hours being shortened, but I'm leaning towards it's a good thing. But maybe it's not. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet in my head. Hex Tank Apologist just got furloughed. Fortunately, just 2 days a month, but still gonna hurt. Ooh, that kind of sucks. But to just lose a couple of days a month isn't too bad. So, that's good to hear that. Is Hex Tank? Are you in Washington? I gotta ask if you're in Washington. Just let me know if you're in Washington or not. Daniel says, I have a Finex 24/7 and we'll be adding another LED and CO2. Tank is 20 inches tall. Also, I drilled my tank after asking you a couple weeks ago about drilling. Sweated buckets, but all went well. Yeah, it's one of those things that's like, you're going to be stressed out a few times that will help keep you sort of focused on what you're doing. And pretty rare that you're going to crack one or something like that if you're paying attention. Generally, the times that I've seen somebody break a tank, crack a tank, shatter a tank, screw it up when drilling the tank is when they were going too fast and they're doing tank after tank after tank after tank. So if you set things up, pay attention, follow the steps, drilling a tank is not that big of a deal. I think people should just focus on being focused instead of being stressed, and I think that might be something that would help out. Maybe not. I don't know. But Lawrence Keebler coming in with a new membership today. Woo! Look at that. Which puts us, that's going to put us up to 93 members. We're getting closer. Getting closer to getting back to 100. Man, we had 100. We were over 100 for like 2 days, and that was it. That's I'm glad to be back at 93. That feels better than 92. We'll say that. Used to live in Oregon, North California now. Okay. All right, makes sense. But yeah, I think realistically, there are some interesting lights out there right now, but on the 48-inch long at $209 even though the price has gone up, I think it looks like the 36-inch is what the price was of the 48-inch before. So I think the 48 was like 179 or 184, something like that, I think. I think that was about right, but I think even at $209, I don't think there is a better deal out there as far as a light goes. The 3-year warranty is a big deal. The LEDs are quality to grow all sorts of plants, that's for sure. The Bluetooth is a big time help, and it's at least water resistant. If you angrily dump it underwater, it will eventually get water inside it. If you're like a wild animal, if you're like a maniac trying to get water to go inside the thing, you could get it in there, but it is really hard. It's not an easy task. So with all those things combined, I just don't know of a better value light out there. There are some interesting lights out there for sure that are interesting. I'm just not so interested at this point that I'm going to be dropping $300-$400 on some lights, when the reality is $300 or $400, as I mentioned earlier in the show, is like 5 or 6 months worth of me buying plants that I'm interested in. So, you weigh where you want to spend your money. And I'm way more interested in getting new plants in over the next 5 or 6 months. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think it's more engaging with you guys than instead of like, here's me unboxing a light. I put it on my tank. Look at that. And I don't know of any cheaper solutions out there that are as good. So, I mean, there are some cheaper solutions that are good, but I wouldn't say that they're as good, not comparable with all the features. It's like the Phoenix 24/7. That's a good light, but I wouldn't say that it's a direct comparison as far as the features go, because you're gonna have to buy a timer. It's not waterproof, and it doesn't have Bluetooth, so you can't like program it to do what you want it to do. So there's just things that maybe you need, maybe you don't. I think if you're going 100% thrifty, just buy some LED lights from the hardware store. If you're going thrifty, just buy some LED lights from the hardware store or Amazon or something and go that route. Elijah Guillaume, what's up, my guy? Coming in as a member. I have to say, we only existed at 93 for just a minute. I liked it better than 92. But I have to say I didn't like it in comparison to 94. So, thank you very much. We're up to 94 members. I appreciate it 100%. Thank you, my guy. Let's see. I was wondering if they're going to give out the cola this year, but I didn't get a notice. I have no idea what Dennis is talking about. I'm confused. Cola? That's weird. Oh, I have my cola raise coming this month. That must be some program that I don't know the acronym for off the top of my head right now. Because every time I read it out loud, I'm like, cola, oh, like Pepsi or something? Because like I mentioned earlier, I'm not that bright. I'm a pretty bright guy, but I'm also kind of dumb too. All right. Well, I honestly think are we caught up for the day? I feel like we're caught up for the day. I feel like we're kind of caught up for the day. Elijah, there we go. There's our little comeback. Been watching for a while. Enjoy your tidbits on the plants. Oh, cost of living adjustment. I should have known that. Well, thank you, Elijah. I appreciate your support. I'm going to keep making those videos. I think specific plant tip videos are probably going to be coming out on Tuesdays, I think, and likely other stuff on Saturdays. I think that's probably the schedule I'm finding to be the most effective right now. Tuesdays and Saturdays, and then live stream on Mondays and Fridays. So, I mean, that's 4 things a week, which is realistically pretty intense when you get down to it. But I think the reality is, you know, like if we reach that full independent thing, I think it probably would be more stuff, or maybe just more channels. Who knows? I don't know. Just a few months into the hobby and already set up 4 tanks. Pump the brakes, my guy. 100% pump the brakes. Keep working on the tanks. You want to, this is my advice. I'm not telling you what to do, but my advice, focus on running really nice setups. Try to stay out of the collectoritis and getting too many tanks going, because it will eventually become overwhelming. You'll go out of town for a week. You come back, have a whole bunch of disasters. There's many things that you could encounter. So just pump the brakes, go slow, keep working on the tanks you're working on, and improve those, and keep and just just focus on making dope tanks. Like, make really good tanks, and that'll be good. Hex Tank Apologist loves the 3.0s. I've had some pretty good success with Stingrays in small shallow tanks. Yeah, Stingrays actually do work quite well, especially in the shallow tanks. Like you said, I mean, that's just good advice. And I think, yeah, I think I would fall in the same realm of giving that same advice. What is this? I'm getting emails. What is this? Emails? It's not email time, guys. Stop emailing me, whoever you are. Just some stupid advertisement. So no worries. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're at the hour and a half mark. 90 minutes feels about right these days. And I'm going to have to go watch this little baby bear and probably take her for a walk. I think I'm going to take her and maybe the doggos for a walk or something. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. We might just work out in the yard. Who knows? We'll do some yard stuff, and then Vicky will be done with her appointments for the day, and then I'll get back to work. So, hey, good times. I want to say thank you to everybody who was here today. It was definitely a small crowd, but we had a good time, right? I think we had a good time. Viewer activity. Click on this button over here. The Fish Tank Barn, Pipex, thank you very much for your super chats today. The Zombie Drummer, Lawrence Keebler, and Elijah Guillame, thank you very much for becoming members today. So, very much appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday. Monday. What time? I don't know yet, but it's going to be earlier in the day. I like doing this earlier. I feel like I have better energy. I'm not so frazzled and cranky as I am if I do this show at like 4 o'clock my time. So I'm going to continue doing these earlier. I'm going to continue unlisting them. So if people get upset by that or whatever, turn on your notifications, make sure your notifications work, subscribe, blah, 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 all that kind of crap, or consider becoming a member at some point, and you will get notifications via the Discord and other things, So thank you, everybody, for coming out. I hope everybody's staying safe, healthy, all the advice I could give. I hope everybody is doing well. Janice says, I need to hold on. Don't go. Okay, let's see what she says. What? Janice! Excuse me. Well, let's see what Janice has to say. What? Okay. I've just got a shipping notification. just got a shipping notification from Aquarium Co-op, so that's kind of funny. But either way, what does Janice have to say? We're waiting for Janice. We're just waiting on Janice. We're just waiting. Where's my G? Oh yeah, that's right. F is G. Okay. For Janice. Let's see. I don't know. What is it? I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'll hang around for a minute because Janice said, "Hey, wait." So why not? I don't know. It feels like kind of a fun thing to do at the end of a Friday show and see what happens. But yeah, I definitely do want to implore with everybody out there to stay safe. And 100% stay safe out there. That is just the most important thing. Maintain your health, maintain your safety out there. That is going to be paramount for everybody, 100%. To remember to stay safe, keep your family safe. Don't spread a virus around. Don't spread germs around. Don't spread bacteria around. You know what I mean? Just stay safe and do the things we're supposed to do. Drink your water, sleep enough. Take your vitamins, do the things that you got to do. Oh, and Janice Lumberg with a $20 super chat. Whoa. Oh, I better type that correctly. Whoa. Thank you very much, Janice. $20 is a very generous super chat, and I 100% appreciate it. I never know what to say about anything but other than to express my gratitude and say thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hotea Marion says, hello. Why I don't get the notification? I don't know. I don't know what goes on with YouTube these days. It's just a weird thing. I don't know why the notifications get sent out or don't get sent out or whatnot. Although I did want to show you guys at some point in time, what YouTube does is they'll send out approximately 2,500 notifications to the list of, well, I don't know. Let me see where we're at. Well, how many subscribers do we have? 26,929. So we're short of 27,000, but so it sends out less than 10%. Sends out notifications of less than 10%, and let's go to a video that did fairly well, right, recently. Let's pop over here to the analytics side of this video that did okay. It said like 1,300 views or whatever. I don't even know what's good anymore. But let's scroll down here. So yeah, so notifications, bell notifications sent was 2.4K. So it was 2,400 out of the 27,000 subscribers. It sent out 2,400 notifications, and 42 people that got the notification clicked on it and watched more than 5 seconds of the video. So out of 27,000 people, 42 of them got the notification and clicked on it. What am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? Like that, like how do you improve on that? Because if you literally brought in 10 more people click through, suddenly that's a huge percentage increase, right? So like if 10 more people clicked through, that's over 20% increase in people clicking through, but that means that 50 people click through instead of 40, right? Well, that's a 25% increase, but out of 27,000 people, the number of views from the people that got notifications is 42. So I don't know what to tell people anymore about anything YouTube related as the notifications go. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what this means. I don't know what to recommend to people. That's ultimately the problem that I'm having, is that, like, if I'm like, so if I tell people to subscribe and click the bell and then click always, and then people don't get the notification, I remember, who was it? Like Anna something. Somebody got super mad at me because they weren't getting their notifications, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't manage the notifications or anything. Like, I'm not the manager of this, right? And they got super frustrated, and they, like, got mad, and they didn't want to watch the channel anymore. And I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I'm not the boss of that. Like, I'm just the guy wearing way too many hats already, trying to do what I'm trying to do. And I don't know about the notifications because I don't have any control over whether they're sent out or not or anything like that. So yeah, I'm just trying to express to you guys. I'm not trying to put the blame on anybody else or anything like that. I'm expressing kind of my frustration about the whole thing, where people that like my content got super mad at me because of something that I don't even have anything to do with. It's like I was dropping F-bombs in the videos or something, or like trying to antagonize other people or anything like that. It just literally was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do because there's nothing that I can do. YouTube basically sent out a memo to, by my understanding, some of the bigger YouTube channels received the memo. Whoop. And I got to look at a screenshot of this, and I'm not going to say who forwarded it to me. But it's not who you're thinking. It's not somebody from the fish YouTube. It's a completely unrelated to fish YouTuber sent it to me. He just showed me the screenshot. That basically any channel under 750, 800,000, million, that range right there, any channel on YouTube under that number, basically they don't care. Like, they're basically at the point right now that they have so many channels with so much interaction and things like that, that any of the channels 700, 800,000 up to 1 million, anything below that, they're just like, good luck. Because we have all of these other channels that have over 1 million subscribers and stuff that we have to deal with, and we just don't have time to deal with any of these other channels that are smaller. So I think that's ultimately the reality, is that there's just so many people making so much stuff and so much content that it's just out of the realm of their control to really be able to care about the concerns of a small channel like mine. They just don't. They're just like, dude, sorry, we don't have time. Which, I understand. Like, I don't bring in a ton of money to YouTube, so I guess that's probably how it works, where they're like, you don't bring in a ton of money, so we just don't care. And that's really what it boils down to. So I don't know. That's the world we live in, and I could be mad about it, or I could be indifferent about it, or I could be happy about it, or there's a million emotions I could have, and the reality is, like, okay, moving on is really the way that I just kind of have to be. So, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know, man. I put thousands of videos up on YouTube, and some do okay, some do terribly, some are just terrible, and some are good, and it just is what it is. Like, we're just existing in 2020, and it's just kind of a weird thing. Yeah. I got to notice it's just super easy to miss it if you're not actively looking at your screen. Yeah, I mean, I have my email notifications turned on and I looked at this the other day. So I get an email notification from 11 different YouTube channels. It sends me an email. It lets me know what's going on if they uploaded something. And you know, because I have that few that I get the full email notification. Let's see, yesterday, so I get one from Joe Rogan because I need to watch some of the Joe Rogan to basically be hypercritical about his guests and stuff like that, because the people he has on there are either amazing people or they're just amazingly scary bad people. I don't know. They're just there's a mess of weird stuff going on, and it's a giant show. It's arguably one of the biggest shows in the world, so I have that one turned on. I don't need to explain it. I got a notification because Knowing Better uploaded a video yesterday, so I got that and DSLR video shooter. So I got 3 notifications in one day from the 11 channels that I get a email from. On Sunday, I got an email from Aquarium Co-op and Fit MC, and that was it. Yeah, so I basically get a couple of emails a day because that's how I have it set, that there's like 11, 12 channels that I really, really, really want to know if they uploaded something contextually. Some more news is one. But yeah, I mean, I just kept that list curated to a small number so I didn't get irritated by those emails all the time, or they just get automatically sent to the junk. But that's how I do it personally. Maybe that works for you. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe that's something that you could figure out how to turn on and get it to work. Hotea Marion says, my Yahoo Mail notification also doesn't work anymore. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes people's settings get turned to stop sending me notifications, and you have to go in and actually turn them on to make it work. I had to do that a while ago because the default setting with stuff like YouTube notifications is it will set it to not send stuff to you. So quite a few years ago, a gigantic study was done to find out if sending out more notifications to people or less notifications, which is better. And as it turns out, people that got too many notifications just stopped coming to YouTube altogether. Like they would just like delete everything, like stop sending me notifications for whatever reason. I don't know. But that's the analytics that they came up with, the data that they had collected said we lose more people from the platform than we gain interaction if we send out too many notifications to people. So a while ago, YouTube set the default to not send notifications to people because people end up just leaving altogether, is what they found out. Yeah, so I don't know. I wasn't in charge of that study, and I don't have the actual numbers in front of me or anything like that. So, but that was what we got from all that. But I'm going to get going because it's time for me to go and take care of my baby because my alarm is starting to go off, and I gots to get. But I want to say thank you very much to everybody coming out today. It was a lovely Friday. Hopefully you have a fantastic weekend. I will be back on Monday, and we'll have some fun there then. So get your questions together, blast them out, do whatever you got to do, put them on Patreon, Discord, whatever the hell. I'm around. I'm not completely gone, but you know what I mean. All right. Later.